past decade, social media has gone from a side hobby to one of the most powerful forces shaping our culture. It influences what we believe, how we treat each other, and even how we see ourselves. In that space, crowded with noise, conflict, and distraction, a brown robed Franciscan friar has built a following of thousands of people. So, what happens when the gospel meets the algorithm? Today, we are sitting down with Father Casey Cole to talk about the power, the pitfalls, and the future of faith in the digital age. Father Casey is the host of Breaking in the Habit, where he offers personal reflections and explanations from a Catholic and a Franciscan perspective. So, this is Friar Time. Let's start talking. Casey, welcome.
Thank you, David.
I'm really happy you were able to come.
My pleasure.
So, you have built a massive following,
Relatively speaking.
relatively speaking, um, as a Franciscan friar, and that's something that would have been unthinkable even like 15 years ago. So, do you think that the Catholic Church has underestimated the power of the internet and social media in terms of evangelization?
It's hard to say anything with the Catholic Church because certainly Catholic leaders have always been doing this. And so there are individuals and the lay faithful who have been leaders, I think, in the world. Maybe institutionally, we tend to move a little slowly sometimes, but I think that the Catholic Church in its individuals have been great over the years.
Now, let's get back to where it all began, so to speak. Okay, so when you first started posting, did you set out with a strategy to like grow influence, or did that kind of happen organically? And at what point did you realize this is something bigger than I thought it was going to be?
I have went through every step kicking and screaming. So I started with a blog and I made fun of bloggers as just pretentious people. Why would anyone think would people want to listen to them? But then I got one because I thought it'd be a great way to connect with people as I entered formation. And I thought the same with YouTube, like, oh, I don't want to be a YouTuber. And then Instagram and TikTok. And along the way, you realize that these things can be used for myself and pretension and to be celebrity, or they can be used to spread the gospel. And in some ways, I've been a late adopter to them, but other times you just have to say, this is where people are. I'm willing to take a risk or be uncomfortable to reach them.
So you jumped right in then.
Jumped right in and it organically grew along the way.
So with that growth, then obviously comes new challenges. So your videos reach thousands of people, but social media rewards like the quick, the attention-grabbing content. So how do you balance the gospel with the short attention span of the digital age?
Well, I think there's two parts to this. Sometimes it's short attention span. I think longer videos have done really, really well in the last couple of years, but really the bigger pitfall is anger. Anger really motivates people. And so there's a temptation sometimes to produce content that evokes an emotional response. And that is dangerous, I think. I think there's a lot of people out there trying to prey on how we feel. And hopefully I'm one trying to bring some thoughtfulness, some reconciling thoughts to say, let's think about this a little more deeply. But there is that temptation that we have to fight all the time.
Tell me a little more about that, about the anger.
Yeah, I mean, we're an outrage culture these days. And so I think it's very easy to get angry about things. It's much more difficult to have a broken heart. And I think, we think about broken heart, oh, I don't want to have a broken heart. But actually, a broken heart allows it to be open a little bit more to feel for our enemies, to see those people who maybe do bad things and say, well, they're hurt as well. Social media doesn't like that second step. It just says, this person's bad. I hate them. Now I feel good about myself because I'm better than them. It's easy, it gets you lots of clicks, but it doesn't help society.
So this is so putting down people
Putting down,
really kind of bolsters your ratings.
it does, and it doesn't even have to be directly, but it can be saying like, here's what's wrong with society. And it just gives people a sense of empowerment, not unlike the Pharisee who says, thank you, Lord, that I'm not like this tax collector. There's something very gross about ourselves sometimes like that.
And you think social media brings that out?
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely, yes. It definitely radicalizes, and it gives more attention to the more outrageous.
And then there's also the personal side, okay? So there's a fine line between spreading the good news and becoming a Catholic influencer,
Sure.
all right? So have you ever felt the pressure to perform for clicks rather than preach for conversion?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think it's a temptation in all of us. And you really have to check your motivations. You have to ask yourself, is this benefiting other people or is this benefiting myself? It's very easy to slip into the celebrity status. It's very isolating, it's very self focused. And what we have to ask ourselves is, how is this helping the gospel grow?
Hmm.
And sometimes that means picking uncomfortable topics. Sometimes that means saying things that are prophetic that won't always be received well. That's a challenge. And I think that you could be much more popular if you just said easy things all the time, but that's not very good preaching.
Tell me about something like that, something that wasn't easy for you to do, that you did and maybe suffered some of the consequences of it.
Sure. I mean, anytime that I preach loving your enemies is a tough sell. Because what I'm ultimately doing is defending people who have done horrible things. And I'm not defending the horrible things they've done, but I'm defending the inherent dignity that's in them, that everyone's created in the image and likeness of God. And that, for a society that wants vengeance, is a very hard sell. What's most saddening sometimes is when fellow Christians get angry about that, when I have to defend someone who's done evil to someone who should already love them. I think that's where I'm most hurt. I understand my worth is not in the world. I understand that I'm not here to get likes and clicks from the outside world for acclaim. But when I find fellow Christians fighting each other, that gives me a bit of pause, and it frustrates me a little bit. But that's why we rely on God, and we're not here to save the world. He is.
Hmm. So, can you give me an example of that kind of pushback that you got?
Sure, I may have made a few videos. One was about an unfortunate sex offender who had abused many people, and I said, "Yes, even this man is loved." And that's a hard sell. I mean, I'm not saying that what he did was good, absolutely not. But if I can't find a way to love him, do I really love anyone?
Hmm.
Because what that love means in that sense is just someone I like and who can benefit me. Whereas what it should mean is God has loved me when I'm unworthy, and so I should love other people when they're unworthy as well.
Uh, so some of the anger came out from people with that one, for
Certainly,
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure. Some people would say that the platforms themselves shape who we become.
Mm.
And some would say that social media is creating a generation addicted to affirmation and applause. Would you be concerned with that kind of well-meaning content can feed that same kind of hunger?
Sure, everyone's doing it for clout. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily for money. It's I want to claim, I want people to see that I'm somebody and doing wild things for that. I saw someone recently run onto a sporting event, I think it was a baseball field, with their camera so that they get themselves tackled by the police officer, and it was a viral video.
right,
That's not good. That's not healthy.
right.
And so we want to be afraid of that, or at least careful. And I think the other side, just the addiction part. Jonathan Haidt has written in his book, The Anxious Generation, how this really is affecting young people. And particularly Instagram knows this, that it gives false expectations for people, and it really messes with the psyche of what things should be. Everyone has dealt with craziness over the last 100 years.
Yeah.
We've been through wars, but there's something about this generation that is inundated all the time that has given a lot of anxiety that other generations have not had.
I think part of that must be that people are online all the time.
Constantly. Yeah.
I mean,
And it's a feedback loop because it gives you what
right.
it thinks you want. And so if you
Yeah.
watch one negative video, you're going to get another negative video.
Yeah. Now, it's not all negative, though. We know that,
No, of course not.
obviously. There's really a lot of good being done. On the positive side, then, social media can give the voiceless a platform.
Sure.
Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not
Hmm.
so good. It connects isolated people, it can bring hope to people in seconds. So, have you seen these moments when it truly changes someone's life for the better?
Absolutely. There are so many people that are lonely out there. And to define this community, admittedly, it's not the same community that we might define as, our Eucharistic community where we're sharing the body and blood of Christ as people in communion with one another, but across digital platforms that they can talk, they can share their feelings, they can feel validation that you're not weird, you're not worthless. That is incredible. And so I've seen this a lot of times where people, particularly in foreign countries, I've had messages from people that say, hey, I live in this country that Christianity is illegal, or I'm afraid, but your content gave me hope, or such and such content gave me hope. And so they can feel that they can have this bit of escape from maybe the chaos around them.
Hmm.
I think that is a wonderful way that God is allowed to work through this medium.
And so when you get a message from someone like that, what do you do?
I try to respond. Unfortunately, there are lots of responses, and I don't want my entire ministry to just be sitting at the computer
Sure.
typing. But I take them to prayer for sure. I will often write those things down. Our house has a book of intentions, and I'll write them down to make sure that even if I can't do anything directly with them, that I'm remembering the good that comes from this and that I'm offering up to God.
On the again, not to focus on the negative, but on the darker side, there's a lot of information sharing that
Mm,
happens in social media, and we live in a time when misinformation
yeah.
seems to spread a lot faster than the truth.
Hmm.
So, how do you feel that Christians should engage with the online world without getting lost in the polarization, the propaganda, all the conspiracy theories, which can also be part of the whole church thing, not
Sure.
just regular society?
Yeah, the misinformation and even disinformation campaigns can be found outside the church, but even inside. And so we are
Hmm.
not immune to this. I think one thing I always ask myself when I watch something is, what is the purpose of this video? Why did someone go through the effort to create this? And what are they trying to get me to feel? And I'm not suggesting that everything is manipulative, but sometimes there are things that they want me to be angry, sad, happy. So I think we need to be conscious of how I'm feeling and how I might be a little manipulated or challenged by this. And I think one of the things that we can really do, especially when we get into doom scrolling, we just go and go and go and go, is to take a 5-second pause in between each video and just to ask yourself, who is that person? What are they saying? And why are they saying it? It grounds you in a real reality, and it helps you to be a critical thinker. There are so many things that come across your feed that you just take implicitly. The famous one a couple years ago was Pope Francis in his puffer jacket. He looked
Yeah.
like a rap star. And it didn't challenge my worldview. It seemed like an odd choice, so I just kept scrolling. And then I accepted something that wasn't true. And so you really have to get to say, okay, it's not challenging my worldview, but maybe it should. Maybe I should look at this a little closer.
And looking ahead, we can see that the landscape is changing,
Hmm.
especially with AI.
Sure.
So as this technology advances, then with AI generated content,
Mhm.
like Francis in his puffy jacket,
Yeah.
deep fakes, as they
Yeah.
call them, immersive virtual reality, do you see these as new opportunities to help with evangelization, or do you see these as the possibility of distortions of reality? Actually,
Distortions the reality is the first thing. There's so many things that can come from this. I think there's a lot of distrust in society then because you can't believe anything. I see it happening now where things are actually real videos and people say, well, I'm not going to believe that because that must be
right?
AI.
Yeah.
And so you can't even show real videos anymore. But the other side of this that doesn't get as much attention is in order to produce this content, one, you have to get rid of all real artists. And so you're not paying people to do artistic, beautiful things. But the other thing is the amount of impact this is having on the environment. In order to create these images, you need data centers that use incredible amounts of
Right.
energy and fossil fuels. Every little thing we do on our phone now is exponentially growing in the amount of energy it needs. That should give us pause to say, do I really need that image created or can I make it myself?
Hmm. So on something personal
Mhm.
and pastoral, if you could leave one message with every Christian scrolling their feed right now, what would you tell them about how to live their faith online without losing their soul?
Sure. I would say that look to the book of Revelation, which is a weird place maybe to start, but God says he does not want lukewarm people, either hot or cold. And I think sometimes we need to be passionate and we need to take our faith seriously at all times. And what I mean by this is that when we're online, sometimes we turn our faith off a little bit and we can be a real strong Christian at church. And then we come on and we like, oh, I'm going to watch things I know I shouldn't, or I'm going to say things I know I shouldn't. And we waffle back and forth. And just to guard your soul, to know that the person you are online is the person you are. And Pope Francis said that we only have one heart, and the person that's willing to abuse an animal is not far from abusing a human being. Just to remember that you have the same heart online as you do in real life.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Is there any last words you want to say to our audience?
No, it is. I hope that my work has been helpful to you, and I hope that it inspires you to go out and live in the world.
Thank you, Casey.
Absolutely. Thanks, David.
My friends, in the end, social media is only as holy or as harmful as the hands that use it. The gospel doesn't need likes to be true. but it does need voices willing to speak it boldly. Father Casey Cole has reminded us that in the chaos of the feed, we can still choose light over darkness, truth over noise, Christ over clicks. Now the question is, what will you choose to post? This has been Friar Time. For examples of social media tools, please go to www.youtube.com/breaking in the habit. For Father Casey's personal Instagram, www.instagram.com/CaseyOFM.